next episode of Daniel's Desk. Today I have Oscar, who's going to be chatting with me about his journey through becoming, identifying, realizing that he was transgender. And transgender rights are currently under attack in this administration, in this day and age, with the bathroom rights and with the ability to fly and get apartments, and just so much is happening to the T in the LGBT community. So I'm really grateful that Oscar is going to take the time to chat with me today.
Absolutely.
Oscar, let's start with a cheers.
Cheers.
You got to drink with a cheers.
I drank right before. So.
Okay, and so, yeah, there's bad luck if you don't drink.
Got it.
Oscar, can you start with me and your journey of when you first knew that you were different from maybe the other people on the playground?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you use playground as the location to kind of bring me back in my journey or my origin story, because I didn't start transitioning or even thinking about transitioning until I was in college. I grew up as a woman and was socialized as a woman and always had a masculine presence about me. And so for a long time I found solace and community within the lesbian community.
Yeah.
Because I also experienced attraction to women, and being a masculine presenting woman, society had communicated to me that my identity must be lesbian. So I spent a lot of time in the lesbian community in high school and even my early years in college.
Did you no longer feel connected or kind of a part of the lesbian community then, or accepted by that community?
I did feel accepted by that community, and I had a lot of success, quote unquote, in that community because, as I mentioned, I was a masculine presenting person, and so found like butch lesbians or stud lesbians to feel like a kindred spirit to. But once I kind of was able to identify that language by meeting that person, and talk with myself about the feelings I knew that I was having and ascribe that language to it, I did start to move away from that community.
But was that a personal decision for you, or because I feel like a lot of people in the LGBT community,
Yes.
Oftentimes don't hang out with different groups within that community. So
Right, like
gay men stick with gay men,
yeah.
lesbians stick with lesbians.
Yeah.
Is that true for transgender people? Did you feel like you were the other in a lesbian space, or did you otherize yourself?
That's a good question. I think I felt once I came out as trans, I did feel othered within that space.
Yeah.
And I think now, later in life, this was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So now here we are 10 years later, and I think language has become more nuanced, and blurring of lines within the communities have become more nuanced. Whereas when I was 2021, it was very fixed. Like, this is your box, even within the box of LGBTQ, this is your further drilled down box, and you belong to it. And if you don't ascribe to the behaviors or the assumptions and social pressures of what it means to belong to that group or identify with that thing, then you will be pushed out. So once I expressed that I was trans and that I wanted to medically transition, one of the most common responses that I got from my lesbian sisters was, why can't you just be like the best butch that you can be? Why do you need to be a man? And I think where that stems from is just fear and negative experiences with men, with cisgender men that women have had, especially lesbian women, and even more so butch lesbian women who bump up against that masculinity line with cis heterosexual men especially. And folks looking at me now and thinking that I was going to become that and feeling like they wanted to push me away.
Use this term cis men. Can you describe what that
Sure.
means for viewers that might not know?
Yeah, so cisgender means that the gender that you were assigned at birth and the gender that you socially experience and feel comfortable with is aligned.
Gotcha.
So if you are born male and you live a male life, then you would be cisgender.
Gotcha.
As to someone who is transgender, the gender that they're assigned at birth is different from the gender that they socially experience and that they are a part of.
So then you mentioned that you got the question, why do you feel the need to transition as a man? I feel like that's a very interesting question. What about you felt like I need to change, what I look like?
Why I felt like I need to change? Well, I felt like it wasn't authentic.
Yeah.
Like, even as I was living out this quote unquote successful lesbian life, it wasn't actually how I identified. And sometimes I felt like I needed to be more masculine than I even actually wanted to be, to assert this like male dominance because I was dressing a certain way or just like living a certain way, or because I had a female partner at the time who was very high femme. And so the expectation was that I was going to be very butch.
The rugged.
Yeah. And that didn't feel real to me.
Yeah.
So
how did you, do you mind me asking how you decided to do it? I know there's options to take pills, there's surgery.
Yes.
What was the best option for you?
So at the time, I wanted to do it by the book, quote unquote. There were a lot of people that I knew at the time that were getting their hormones underground and were circumnavigating the system, which in all honesty is fair. The system is not set up to positively support folks who are looking to transition or who are on the gender spectrum. So there's no shade, no judgment, no shame to that. But for me at the time, I wanted to my mother's a healthcare provider. I grew up kind of in that household of, so I wanted to do it by the book, quote unquote. So I started seeing a psychologist.
And what you mean by that is that there was no access to insurance for them to be able to afford hormones. Is that what you mean?
That part, so the insurance part, and even if you do have insurance, there are steps that your insurance company might require you to take, which was my situation. So I had insurance, and I could access hormones through my insurance policy, but I needed to get a letter from a psychiatrist. I needed to be in counseling for a certain period of time. I needed to have a letter from that psychologist or psychiatrist that asserted I had gender identity dysphoria, and
So they classified it as a disorder?
Yes.
Is it still classified?
Only recently has that changed, like within the last 5 years, I want to say.
Okay.
But yes, it was classified as a disorder, and if you wanted to access through your health, most frequently if you wanted to access through your health insurance policy, which yes, of course, if you're buying hormones, I have bought hormones out of pocket before, and it could be anywhere from $120 to
thousands of dollars. I can imagine.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I wanted to go through my healthcare provider. So I did that and went through those motions and started taking hormones. When I first started, I did an intramuscular shot once a week. So I did. Actually, I had a friend do it for me the first time because I was scared to
do it.
Yeah, to inject yourself with a needle.
So it's not pill; it's a shot.
And when I first started taking it, yes.
A testosterone shot?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a shot of testosterone.
Okay.
You kind of and the reasons why I've since stopped doing shots, and now I use a topical ointment daily, because I didn't like the experience of like the highs and the lows. So like I would get my T shot, and then I would be like,
I would feel that. You would feel the aggression?
Revved up. Aggression, I don't want to use that word, but I would feel revved up. I would have a lot of energy, which is where you see now like middle-aged men who are like, experiencing low T, and now you can, now like middle-aged men are trying to like get shots of testosterone so they can experience vitality. But so I didn't like the highs and lows. So I would get like really peaked when I would take my shot, and then it would cascade down. So now for more.
And then you'd start to feel more feminine again?
No, I don't think I was. Not that I would start to feel more feminine. It's just that.
It was just like the
intensity. It was like the physiological experience of. I just injected myself with this thing, and now I have like more ramped up feelings, and then it tapers off.
Gotcha. You don't have that with the ointment.
No, I don't feel that anymore.
Gotcha.
Because it's daily. It's a lower dose. It's more just consistent. My levels stay more consistent now, which I appreciate.
And you did not opt to do surgery?
I had reassignment top surgery in 2015.
Gotcha. Okay.
Actually, maybe it was 2014. But yeah, I wanted to do that because I wanted to experience comfort in the locker room.
Yeah.
I wanted to experience like social comfort, and I was very blessed to have the financial means to be able to do that. And it felt right for me and my body. There are a lot of folks who are gender nonconforming, identify as transgender, non-binary, who don't seek out surgery.
Do you feel offended if someone doesn't use the proper pronouns or the proper language?
What I feel offended by is intent, So I have definitely been in experiences where early on in my transition where someone either like forgot or, they've known me for a really long time. So my birth name would just slip out of their mouth. But I also know that their intent is not vile,
Yeah.
So what I'm offended by is when folks refuse to try or just flat out say, oh, well, I'm not going to make that change. I've known you for 20 years and you're still this person.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I did early on. Early on I did. I think a lot of folks, because for so long I lived as this masculine identified woman, and folks were really confused by my desire to transition and thought that, like one of my best friends from high school at the time was like, I don't really see that for you. And I wanted to be like, what do you mean?
How can you tell me what I feel?
Yeah, or what do you mean you don't see that for me? Like as if it's something for you to see for me, So
do you feel that pressure though? I feel like a lot of the trans is beautiful pressure is on trans males to women who have to look up to like Caitlyn Jenner or Laverne Cox and see these beautiful women and feel that. I mean, and I know that women in general have that social pressure, but I feel like as a man, we don't really have as much social pressure to.
You don't think so?
Look beautiful. I mean,
especially as a gay man.
I feel like as a gay man,
social pressure to look a certain kind of way.
Gay men, yes, but I feel like would you not agree that I feel like trans women have it a little harder, or what do you think?
I disagree with that.
You disagree? Okay.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I mean, I think that all of us see covers of magazines, and men look a certain way, and women look a certain way. And if you don't look that way, you will experience that.
You feel the pressure to have the abs.
Sure,
and
yeah. Or even, how you mentioned, a full beard,
yeah.
A certain lineup, right? Like, or even just a certain kind of carrying on yourself.
What is the issue with bathrooms?
I mean, I don't know. Everyone has a gender neutral bathroom in their house, so I don't understand why folks are so anti-gender neutral bathrooms in public. Like, if you have a child, also, right, they have like family bathrooms. Like, so what is the big deal? Actually,
can I just call out what it is? If someone who looks like you is using the woman's bathroom, would that really make kids feel uncomfortable? Because that's what conservatives want. They want someone who, they want, oh no, it's what you were assigned at birth. That's what the bathroom.
Okay, well then, what does it look like for someone like me to walk into a woman's bathroom?
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Right. So that's what. Right. So for someone like me to walk into a woman's bathroom is just incongruous. Number one, with my identity. Number two, with the socialization of what public bathrooms are, which we can, deconstruct at a later time. But I feel like if this is what you really want, for me to walk into a woman's bathroom, that's not what this is actually about. What this is actually about is legitimizing and politicizing hate.
Do you find hope in the celebrities that you see, like
no.
a Caitlyn Jenner?
No.
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 Okay, wait. No. So why?
I mean, do I find hope in celebrities? No.
No, you would argue that representation is important. That the visibility that Caitlyn.
Sure, but I don't feel represented necessarily. I mean, I think I do appreciate. I appreciate that there is a growing conversation about transgender people and our lives and our experiences. I still think that there suffers a lack of diversity within that. Even the same thing, like, not all black male narratives are the same, not all trans narratives are the same. Yeah. I think that I would love to see more representation of black male trans folks in the media. I don't, I think that sometimes trans women
dominate
the narrative. Yeah. Maybe it's because of the visibility of trans women and their experience. I very soon after my transition went stealth, where I wasn't readable as a trans person. I let my facial hair grow out. I let my voice drop. I was wearing certain clothes. I had top surgery, my visibility as a trans person has diminished. And so it's kind of almost like a back and forth, right, where I want there to be more representation of trans folks in the media, and also recognize that my visibility is not stark enough maybe to be a representation that folks are usually looking for.
What was your family coming out experience like?
Yeah, so it actually was really hard. My family coming out experience on both ends was hard. It was hard when I came out as a lesbian, and it was hard when I came out as trans.
Because mine was actually a lot better than I expected. For Southern Christian black folk, okay, yeah. Easier than I expected. I got I will pray for you, but yours was like your lesbian experience and then your transgender experience. Were they about equally as tough, or what? Just describe, I guess, the transgender experience. What was that like?
I think it was equally as tough. And when I came out as trans,
was it via phone call, person?
No, I tried. It was in person. It was like over a holiday, and I was like home visiting from college, kind of situation, and my family, we lost a sibling. I lost a sister right before I went to college, and so I knew that there was going to be a lot around telling my mom that she was going to lose another daughter. And so I felt really hard. I kept the information in for a long time. I didn't tell them right away. But I was starting to take hormones and I was starting to change. And so I needed to tell them.
Because you go home for Thanksgiving, you're like, "Hi, Mom, got a beer."
Right. I mean, I shaved it for a long time. I would shave every year for the holidays for a long time. It wasn't actually maybe until not last Christmas, but the Christmas before that I didn't.
But did you put on a wig, or did you try to feminize yourself?
No, I didn't put on.
Okay, but so you didn't.
But I did like shave my face, to not like, quote unquote, scare my grandparents with my maleness, you know.
So then, what is dating life like?
I mean, my dating life is great.
Are you dating someone?
Well, so my partner, yes. My partner and I have been together for 7 years.
Snooze fest, boring. Okay, but I want you to take me back because I imagine when you're going through the dating process, was that difficult to come out as transgender? And I feel like, you know, when did you decide to do, like, would you take a guy or girl or someone on a date and then
when do I disclose? So I think it's interesting that you were like snooze fest boring on my 7-year relationship.
I mean, we'll talk about the relationship.
I mean, only because you know, I mean, my partner and I are non-monogamous, you know, so we both continue to date, and
you say you're not monogamous?
Yeah, we're non-monogamous.
Oh, okay. Ooh, wait a minute. No longer.
Right now, you want to know more about it.
Jeez. Okay.
You already said snooze fest.
No. Ignore that part.
But going back, I mean. Yes, so when I started to socially pass as a man, it was a concern, you know, it's just like a social anxiety. Like, when do you say something and how do you say it? And you never know what the other person's politics are going to be. And so, and as someone who dates and has, you know, relationships with people across the gender spectrum, it's not mutually. It's not as if, it's easier to tell men than it is to tell women. It's difficult to tell anybody. So I usually would not usually, I mean, I don't really tell anyone unless we're going to take clothes off. And then I feel like that's when...
Yeah, I mean, they're going to find They are going to find out.
I mean, maybe, but right, so that's the...
Unless you got some real deep lights, like dark lights.
But I do feel like that's for me, that's the appropriate moment to disclose. Unless I know them socially in some other way and, you know, they know about my identity from another context. But I don't come out unless it's necessary.
I was watching, I think it was actually Peppermint in one of the earlier episodes, said a lot of people in the transgender community don't like drag kings and drag queens because they dress up as the other gender for entertainment purposes, but yet you have that lived experience. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, I guess you support drag queens because you watch RuPaul, but have you heard that argument before?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's unnecessary. Like, you know, why not? If we understand drag to be a performance, first of all, we all understand gender to be a performance, right? So if we understand that gender...
Ooh, say that again!
I mean, if we all understand that gender is a performance, you know, shout out to Queen Mother Rue, right? And Judith Butler and all of the other like feminist philosophers out there. Like, gender is a performance. And so when folks are in drag, they are performing gender to its extreme. So I think, as Peppermint even said on the show, like, you know, a lot of folks think that trans women don't have a place within the drag community and vice versa, but I would disagree with that. You know, I think it's about, you are performing a character, you're performing an identity, you're embodying that identity. There's some aspect of you that feels empowered or feels like commentary while you're, like, even like Sasha Velour's drag, like very meta, very like social commentary, very much so like the drag is about, you know, that type of presentation and that sending that message and invoking those images and those messages. And I think that's what gender is about. And
I mean, I will say you educated me so much in this interview. I really hope that you all take something away, because it's part of me feels ashamed that they lump LGBTQ together, because I feel like there's so much of the trans experience that I don't know, and I'm just really glad that you helped to educate me and hopefully a large swath of people today. So.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Wait, no, but no. As my viewers know, I know how the game. Now, okay, I forgot my hat, so it's going to be the hand seat today.
Okay.
But basically, you pick one of these, and you have to answer it truthfully. You got to read it aloud to the camera, and then answer it truthfully. So grab one.
Okay.
And let's see what the one you got.
Let's see. Describe your first kiss.
Ah, yes.
Wow.
All right. It's the hot seat.
See, so this goes back to what we were talking about before, right? First, I have to remember that my first kiss was as a woman, as a little girl. So I have to remember that I used to be a little girl.
Oh wait, you can cheat. Use your first post.
My first post-trans experience,
Mm-hmm.
first kiss. Well, no, I could tell this one. So when I was younger, my parents, we had like this big house, and we had like a driveway, long driveway that led into our garage, and it was the best hiding place for hide and seek, because it was like messy and there was like all these things. And so when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that, I was playing like neighborhood hide and seek with a bunch of friends from the neighborhood. And I had this friend Evan, and Evan and I went to school together, kind of like all through grade school, middle school, high school kind of, and he found me in the garage, and then we were like wrestling with each other, like haha, I found you, and then he kissed me, and we like had this little like thing. We dated a little bit when we were in middle school, but it was cute.
What? That is the most scandalous happening. I know. Well, Oscar,
Right.
thank you so much for sharing. I know that your experience is your experience, and I know that you. It takes a lot to come on and be very candid, and
Absolutely. It was great.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Fuller House, American Idol, X-Files, Will and Grace. What do these shows have in common? They all either have been or will be rebooted sometime this year. And you know what I think about reboots? Well, I like to think of television shows like a good meal. You enjoy it while it's hot, down to the very last moment, and then you let it pass. And when it does make a second appearance, guess what it comes out as? Shit. That's exactly what happens with television shows. When network execs decide to bring television shows back for a reboot, they come out as shit. Think about it. Fuller House? Such a boring show. X-Files? Who even watches that? And are you really excited for American Idol to return? I don't think so. So, network execs, please let these shows rest in peace. Do you agree with me? Let me know. If you disagree, let me know that too. Just make sure you tune in next week to Daniel's Desk.